My name is Fulton Robinson and I am a student in Dr. Chanley's Human Anatomy class. And today I'm going to be discussing a little bit about the aorta for my review video. I'm going to talk about some of the problems you can encounter in the aorta, such as dissection, aneurysm, and stenosis. I'm also going to be just describing the basic anatomy of the aorta and what all it contributes to the body. And that'll about cover it for my review video. So what I want to start out with talking about is that the aorta is the largest artery in the human body, and I would say it is probably the most important. Now the aorta starts from the heart, and from the heart we first encounter the ascending aorta, which is a very important part and also a very susceptible to injury part. But as it goes around, we will then have the aortic arch, and the aortic arch is going to give off three very important vessels. First, you have the brachiocephalic, next the left common carotid, and finally the left subclavian. Now, the importance of these is that they are what is going to leave the aorta and go on to supply the upper extremities and the arms and the shoulders, as well as the neck, head, and most importantly, the brain. Now, then we're going to have the descending aorta, and that is going to come around and become a thoracic aorta, and then as it gets lower, it'll become the abdominal aorta. And now, from this part of the aorta is where you're going to have branches off that are going to supply everything in the abdomen, thorax, as well as the lower extremities. So this is also a very critical part. Now, first, I'm going to begin by talking a little bit about what an aortic dissection is. Now, an aortic dissection is when in one of the three layers of the aorta, you're going to have a tear, usually in the innermost layer. And now this tear is going to cause blood to start leaking out into the space between the first and second layers. And as this blood pulls and pulls and gets larger and larger, eventually you can have it to where it bursts, and then that is going to lead to massive internal bleeding as the aorta supplies and carries all of the body's oxygenated blood. So there's two types of an aortic dissection. First, we have type A. Now type A happens only in the ascending aorta. Type A is very dangerous and has to be treated very quickly. And the reason that it is so dangerous is because this happens right before we get to the aortic arch. So instead of just losing the blood supply to the lower extremities as you would with a type B dissection, you're going to lose blood supply to the head, neck, shoulders, and arms, as well as the lower extremities. So this is why an ascending aortic dissection is just very critical and has to be dealt with as quickly as possible. Now, type B aortic dissection is still critical, but it is not as bad as a type A, because when you have a dissection just in the descending aorta, you're only losing blood supply to the lower extremities, and you still will have blood supply to your upper extremities, brain, and head. Now, an aneurysm is what happens when there is weakening in the walls of the aorta, usually due to things like smoking and bad eating habits and continuous high blood pressure. And that's going to cause your aortic walls to weaken, and they're going to start bulging outwards, and then you can have these pockets where they just bulge outwards. And these normally are not a problem until you have a rupture or a burst, and then they become immediately life-threatening and have to be dealt with very quickly. Next, we have aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis is a condition caused by mostly poor eating and just bad lifestyle habits, and it causes your aorta to fill up with plaque and causes it to get thinner and thinner, which will in turn cause your blood vessels to have to work harder, and it's going to cause your blood pressure to go up. And now, a lot of these three conditions are fairly related because a lot of them are caused by the same symptoms or caused by the same risk factors, which can be things like smoking. Any type of smoking is really going to have a bad impact on your blood vessels. It's going to make them weaker, it's going to make them have to work harder, and it also is going to have less oxygen in your blood, which is overall just bad for your cells and your cell health. Also things like bad eating habits, all those things like that are going to raise your blood pressure and raise your cholesterol and really make your heart have to work a lot harder. And all of these are very dangerous, and they are very emergent surgeries or treatment options because of how much blood is supplied to your body by your aorta.